Good morning everyone. Now I'd like to explain about antihypertensive drugs. Antihypertensive drugs means the drugs which are used for treatment of hypertension. Okay, hypertension is commonly called as blood pressure, which is a common pathological condition which can be seen in age-old people. But nowadays this problem can be seen in the people those who are having age more than 40 plus. Okay, now the drugs which are used for treatment of hypertension or elevated blood pressure is called antihypertensive agents. So the contents in this presentation are: what is blood pressure levels, symptoms of hypertension, what is antihypertensive drug or agent, classification of antihypertensive drugs, side effects of antihypertensives, structures of drugs, mode of actions, and finally synthesis of antihypertensive drugs. So coming to hypertension, this can also be called elevated blood pressure. Okay, this is a long-term medical condition in which the blood pressure in the arteries is persistently elevated. Okay, this is defined as having a blood pressure higher than 140 over 90 millimeter Hg. Okay, with a consensus across medical guidelines. The limit for or the range for hypertension is 140 by 90. If it is exceeding, then it is called hypertension, or this can be called as 120 by 80. You can take that limit also, 120 by 80 or 140 by 90. Okay, if the blood pressure range is exceeding these levels, then it can be called as hypertension. Okay, based on the range, they can be classified into different types. First one, see, normal. Blood pressure category is normal. Okay, if systolic blood pressure is less than 120, then it is called normal. Similarly, diastolic blood pressure 80. Okay, if blood pressure is less than 120 by 80, systole by diastole, then it is called normal. If it is exceeding more than 120 by 80 or 140 by 90, according to the various WHO guidelines, okay, then that condition is called hypertension. In hypertension, it is also different types. See, pre-hypertension, it means if systolic blood pressure is within the limit of 120 to 139 and diastolic blood pressure is 80 to 89, then it is called pre-hypertension. Okay, next condition is called high. In high, again two types are there, stage 1 and stage 2. So stage 1 hypertension means the systolic blood pressure is 140 to 159 and diastolic blood pressure is 90 to 99. In stage 2 hypertension, here the range is exceeding more than 160 and diastolic blood pressure 100. Okay, if the blood pressure is exceeding more than 180, okay, if the systolic blood pressure is rising more than 180 and diastolic blood pressure is rising more than 110, then it is called hypertensive crisis. Okay, in hypertensive crisis, the blood pressure range is 180 to 110. So what are the causes of hypertension? So before going to the antihypertensive agents, first you should know about the risk factors or the causative sources for development of this hypertension. Okay, see here. The first one is renal diseases. Okay, renal diseases means kidney problem. If there is any malfunction or abnormality in the kidney, it may lead to improper filtration of the urine, then accumulation of fluid occurs and it may lead to rise in blood pressure. That is one of the reason. Another one, genetic factors. Okay, either this may be transmitted from one generation to another generation. Next, drug induced hypertension is also there. Drugs like alcohol, licorice, okay, these drugs are also, if the patient is used for a long time, in such conditions also hypertension may develop. Next, oversynthesis of hormones like catecholamines, example adrenaline and angiotensin. Okay, by excess release of these hormones also the blood pressure is elevated. Next is arterial diseases. and another one unknown. Okay, hypertension suddenly develops in a particular person, but the reason for the development of hypertension is unknown, that is 95%. And next, age factor. Okay, generally the patients who are having more than 45 or 50 years, there will be a chance for development of hypertension because of their physiological conditions. Okay, these are the various reasons which are responsible for development of hypertension. Coming to the symptoms of hypertension. If you see any disease, generally there are several symptoms, by which symptoms only we can identify that disease is so and so, like typhoid or malaria or dengue fever or any tapeworm infestations, like that. Some specific symptoms are there, okay, for tuberculosis or cancer. Some symptoms are there. Based on the symptoms only we can identify that infection or that disease is either tuberculosis or typhoid or cancer. But in hypertension we can't identify any symptom. Okay, see here, this is called silent killer. Okay, this is called silent killer disease because we can't identify the specific symptom, but it quietly causes damage to the cardiovascular system if it is not treated. So coming to the definition, antihypertensive drugs. So they are a class of drugs used to treat elevated hypertension or elevated blood pressure, are called antihypertensives. Anti means against, hyper, excess. Okay, what is the main mode of this antihypertensive agents is to reduce the elevated blood pressure to normal. See, antihypertensive therapy seeks to prevent the complications of high blood pressure. If blood pressure is not treated, it may leads to heart stroke or comes to heart failure or myocardial infarction occurs. So to avoid that problems, that elevated blood pressure can be treated by taking antihypertensive agents. Coming to the various classes of antihypertensives. First category is called ACE inhibitors. The full form of ACE is angiotensin converting enzyme. Examples: captopril, enalapril, lisinopril, perindopril and ramipril. Second one is called angiotensin antagonist. Example: losartan, irbesartan and candesartan. Third category, calcium channel blockers. Example: verapamil, diltiazem, nifedipine, felodipine, amlodipine and lisidipine. Next, diuretics. Again in diuretics different classes are there, but here I am specifying only the important categories. The first one is called thiazide diuretics. Example under thiazide diuretics: hydrochlorothiazide, chlorothalidone and indapamide. Second category, high ceiling diuretics. Example: furosemide. And third one, potassium sparing diuretics: spironolactone and amiloride. Next category, beta adrenergic blockers. Example: propranolol, metoprolol and atenolol. Next, alpha and beta adrenergic blockers. They can also be called mixed blockers. Example: labetalol and carvedilol. Next, alpha adrenergic blockers: prazosin, terazosin and phentolamine. And next, central sympatholytic agents. Example: clonidine, methyl-dopa. Next, vasodilators: hydralazine, minoxidil and sodium nitroprusside. And last category, ganglionic blocking agents. Example: mecamylamine. Okay, these are the various important categories which are present in antihypertensive agent category. Coming to the first category, that is called ACE inhibitors. So based on the chemical classification, these ACE inhibitors are further classified into three types. The first category is called sulfhydryl groups. Okay, here based on the structure, SH group is present in this category. Example for sulfhydryl group containing drugs: example, captopril. Next, dicarboxylate containing drugs. Example, enalapril, lisinopril. Next, phosphate drugs, fosinopril. Okay, this is one of the formulation which contain ACE inhibitors and diuretics. So here the ACE inhibitor is enalapril, maleate and hydrochlorothiazide, and the formulation is tablets. And these are the structures of ACE inhibitors. As I already told in the previous slide, captopril is belong to the category of sulfhydryl group containing drugs. So this is the main important functional group. Next, enalapril. It is having dicarboxylate. This is one and this is another one. So two carboxylate groups are there in enalapril. In lisinopril, okay, perindopril, quinalapril, all these are having two COOH groups. That's why they are called dicarboxylate group containing drugs. Coming to the physiology of the hypertension. Coming to the renin, first compound is called renin. So this renin is secreted by tubules of the kidney, and this is a protein. This renin is converting into angiotensin 1 by a component called angiotensinogen. This angiotensin 1 is converting into angiotensin 2 by angiotensin converting enzyme. Then angiotensin 2 is converting into aldosterone. This aldosterone is called a vasoconstrictor. Vasoconstrictor means which can constrict or which can narrows the blood vessels. And what is the function of this aldosterone is, this aldosterone helps in sodium retention and water retention in the body. Okay, it retains water and sodium. So by retaining water and sodium, more amount of fluid is accumulated, which may leads to rise in blood pressure. So see here, volume increases, so increase in volume leads to arterial wall pressure. Pressure is increasing, so then rise in blood pressure occurs. This is one way. Another way is central mechanism. Okay, here there are receptors called baroreceptors are there. Those baroreceptors are present in hypothalamus region, and these receptors are stimulated by this sympathetic ganglia. See here, sympathetic ganglia stimulation occurs, and which may leads to release of catecholamines from the sympathetic nerve endings. So the released catecholamines constricts the arteries, so which results in elevated blood pressure. Understand, either by increase in production of aldosterone or increase in concentration of catecholamines are responsible for increase in blood pressure. Good morning everyone. Let me continue the physiology of hypertension. Here renin is the main important component which is responsible for development of hypertension. Renin, the source for renin is it is secreted by tubules of the kidney. That is nothing but in the nephron it is secreted. The help of angiotensinogen, renin is converting into angiotensin 1. Angiotensin 1 is converting into angiotensin 2 with the help of angiotensin converting enzyme, that is called ACE. Next, angiotensin 2 is responsible for production of aldosterone. aldosterone is a vasoconstrictor which helps in retention of sodium and water. So thereby the volume of the fluid in the body is increased, which is creating a pressure on the arteries, so which results in elevated blood pressure. This is one of the physiology responsible for hypertension. Another one is, this is central mechanism. There are receptors called baroreceptors in the hypothalamus. Those receptors are stimulated. Okay, when receptors are stimulated, sympathetic ganglia secretes to release their catecholamines from the sympathetic nerve endings. So the released catecholamines like epinephrine, norepinephrine, they may stimulate receptors present in the heart, so which results in vasoconstriction function, so thereby rise in blood pressure. Okay, the main mechanisms are either by production of aldosterone or by releasing catecholamines. The elevated blood pressure can be noticed or observed. See, angiotensin is converting into angiotensin 1 with the help of renin. Angiotensin 1 is converting into angiotensin 2 with the help of angiotensin converting enzyme. This angiotensin 2 is binding with angiotensin 2 receptor and stimulates the production of aldosterone. Okay, that is the general pathway. Here the drugs called angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors. So here the name is suggesting it inhibits angiotensin converting enzyme. So if we inhibit the angiotensin converting enzyme, there is no further conversion of angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2. Okay, thereby we can prevent the secretion of aldosterone or production of aldosterone. So in that way we can reduce elevated blood pressure. That's why they are called ACE inhibitors. The enzyme is inhibited completely. Another category is there after ACE inhibitors, that is called angiotensin receptor 2 antagonist, that is called AR2. See here, angiotensin receptor antagonist 2. See here, this angiotensin 2 binds with angiotensin 2 receptors, then only aldosterone production occurs. Here, with the help of angiotensin receptor 2 antagonist, we can inhibit the binding of angiotensin 2 with the receptor. So thereby there is no further production of aldosterone. So here our drug is acting as an antagonist. Agonist is angiotensin 2. Both are competing with the angiotensin 2 receptor site. So our drug will bind and displaces the binding of angiotensin 2 with the receptor site. So there is no further function of angiotensin 2. Coming to the drugs called captopril metabolism. So this captopril is belonging to the category sulfhydryl group. Okay, this compound undergo metabolism first by oxidation and form a compound called dimerization, oxidative dimerization. Dimers are formed. How it will form dimer means it can form a bond with sulfur containing amino acids like cysteine, cysteine, methionine. Okay, they bind with those amino acids and form dimers. See here, captopril cysteine disulfide is formed. So 40 to 50% of the drug is converting into this metabolite form and remaining 40 to 50% of the drug is excreted in unchanged form. It means there is no further conversion in the structure. This is one metabolite. Another way is glucuronic acid conjugation. Okay, the ACE inhibitors can undergo metabolism by oxidative dimerization process or by undergoing glucuronic acid conjugation. In that way the drug is converting into water soluble metabolites. Coming to the uses, they are mainly used for treatment of hypertension, heart failure, left ventricular dysfunction. This can also be called LVD. Next, diabetic nephropathy and for reducing the risk of myocardial ischemia. For all these types we can use the captopril or any ACE inhibitor as a therapeutic agent. Coming to the synthesis of captopril, how can we synthesize this captopril in the laboratory? So first we will take a methacrylic acid. This is the structure of methacrylic acid, and we are adding HCl. This is simply addition of hydrogen halide to an alkene. So here the process is called Markovnikov rule. The main principle involved in reaction is Markovnikov rule. So hydrogen is attached to this carbon and chlorine is attached to this carbon. After attachment of this hydrogen and chlorine to these double bonded carbons, it is converting into a single bond. Then the resulting compound is called 3-chloro-2-methyl. Okay, 3-chloro-2-methyl propanoic acid. That is the first intermediate formed. Okay, now we are treating this 3-chloro-2-methyl propanoic acid with proline. Proline is an amino acid. Okay, this is a heterocyclic amino acid. Here, this HCl elimination occurs. Then we will get the second intermediate. That is 1,3-chloro-2-methyl propanoyl pyrrolidine 2-carboxylic acid. Okay, here minus HCl. Now finally we are treating with this compound with ammonium thiol. Why we are treating with ammonium thiol means for introducing SH group into the structure, which is a very essential one. In the place of Cl, this SH group was introduced and we will get the compound captopril. Okay, in this way we can synthesize captopril in the laboratory. Coming to SER of ACE inhibitors. SER means structure activity relationship. See here, first the ACE inhibitors mainly contain benzene ring with carbon atoms. This is N, see here. It may be different from one compound to another compound, followed by a zinc binding group. This is very essential. Next CHX, CO, and this nitrogen is present in the form of. Okay, this is the common structure which is required for ACE inhibitors or for inhibiting angiotensin converting enzyme. This zinc plus 2 binding group is present in the angiotensin converting enzyme. So we are using drugs like captopril, enalapril, fosinopril, ramipril. All these drugs are having some specific functional groups. If you take captopril, SH group is there. Enalapril, COOH, they are called dicarboxylate group containing drugs. Fosinopril, phosphate group. All these groups will help in binding of drug with the zinc plus 2 binding group which is there in the angiotensin converting enzyme. Okay, when drug binds effectively with the receptor site, then only it will exhibit their pharmacological action. C. A, the first category is SHCH2. B, carboxylate group containing drugs. C, phosphate group containing drugs. These are very essential for exhibiting activity. Why? Because with the help of these groups only we can bind with the active site of enzyme. What is that active site? Zinc, Zn plus 2. That is the active site of the enzyme. See, this is the structure. Okay, this is the cavity, active cavity which is present in the enzyme. So this is our drug. SH group present in the drug forming a bond with the Zn plus 2. So here bond is formed, then interaction occurs, then we can inhibit the function of ACE enzyme. See here, this is enalapril. In enalapril also zinc plus 2 is binding with the COH group of the drug. So like that, interaction must be there between the drug and the active sites of the enzyme. See, this is one of the important one. Next, nitrogen must be present in the ring. Why it should be present in the ring means, see, it must contain, the nitrogen ring must contain a carboxylic acid and large hydrophobic heterocyclic ring must be present on the nitrogen. Why it means? To maintain the basic property of the compound. And this ring increases the potency and after pharmacokinetic factors. And this ring also contains one COOH group. What is the need of that COOH group on the ring? Means the structure is mimic the C-terminal carboxylate of ACE substrate. Next, zinc binding group. Sulfhydryl, carboxylic acid and phosphoric acid. X is methyl in normal case. In the remaining cases, butyl. If butyl is there, orally active compound. Okay, this is about SAR. And this is angiotensin 2 antagonist. Losartan. These are the other structures which are present in antihypertensive category. Losartan is belong to the angiotensin receptor 2. This is beta blocker. And mecamylamine is ganglionic blocker. And this is clonidine. This is central acting drug. Okay, these are the structures of other antihypertensive drugs. Coming to the mode of actions of various classes of antihypertensives. The first category is called peripheral antiadrenergic drugs. Peripheral antiadrenergic. Antiadrenergic means against to the adrenergics. So in this one, this can also be called alpha blockers. So mainly alpha blockers are again in alpha receptors. These alpha blockers mainly targets alpha receptors. In alpha receptors, alpha 1 is one of the important subtype which helps in vasoconstriction. So whenever vasoconstriction occurs, rise in blood pressure occurs. So these drugs mainly block alpha 1 receptors. So thereby vasoconstriction function is inhibited. Next category is called centrally acting agents. See, these centrally acting drugs mainly stimulates alpha 2 adrenoreceptors. Okay, alpha 2 adrenoreceptors are present in presynaptic region of the sympathetic nervous system. The function of alpha 2 adrenoreceptors is uptake of catecholamines. Okay, whenever alpha 2 receptors were stimulated, the availability of catecholamines in the synaptic cleft is decreased. Why? Uptake occurs and concentration of the catecholamines is decreased. So here how these drugs acting as antihypertensive agents means it stimulates alpha 2 receptors. So thereby very less amount of catecholamines are available in the synaptic cleft. That is centrally acting agents. Coming to the third category, direct vasodilators. Vasodilation means dilatation of vessels. So here these drugs may directly dilate blood vessels or arteries. See, it reduces blood pressure by direct relaxation of smooth muscles of the arterioles, possibly as a result of calcium channel activation. Okay, activation of calcium channels occurs, so thereby relaxation of the smooth muscles of the arteries occurs. So whenever vasodilation occurs, automatically the blood pressure will be reduced. Coming to the fourth category, that is called ganglionic blocking agents. Okay, mainly these drugs block sympathetic ganglia and interrupting adrenergic control of arteries and results in vasodilation. Okay, whenever adrenergic control is there, vasoconstriction occurs. So here, whenever adrenergic hormone catecholamines like say epinephrine, norepinephrine are released, whenever sympathetic ganglia is stimulated, then only catecholamine releases occur. Here, by blocking sympathetic ganglia stimulation, we can prevent the release of catecholamines. Okay, this is indirect approach. So thereby we can improve peripheral blood flow in same vascular bloods and fall in blood pressure. Next category is called beta adrenergic blockers. Okay, in adrenergic mainly two receptors are there, alpha receptors, beta receptors. So alpha, if we block alpha, then it is called alpha blockers. If we block beta, then the category is called beta adrenergic blockers. So these drugs block beta receptors of the heart. Okay, mainly different types of beta receptors are there, beta 1, beta 2. Beta 1 receptors are mainly present in the heart. Okay, if the beta 1 receptors are stimulated by the drug, again contraction of the heart muscles occurs and vasoconstriction occurs. So here we can inhibit that vasoconstriction by inhibiting beta receptors. So thereby it slows the heart rate, reduces the force of contraction and reduces the cardiac output. Okay, thereby you can reduce the elevated blood pressure also. Next category is called calcium channel blockers. So different types of calcium channels are there. Those can be called as L type, T type. Mainly L type calcium channels are present in heart muscles. Okay, what is the use of these calcium channels? Calcium, with the help of calcium channel only, entry of calcium ions occurs into the heart. Okay, you know already calcium is essential for contraction of the heart muscle. So if we inhibit the flow of calcium into the heart muscle, contraction of the heart muscles also inhibited. See, calcium channel blockers block voltage dependent calcium channels. So thereby excess amount of entry of calcium into the heart muscle is inhibited. So in such condition also we can reduce blood pressure, elevated blood pressure. Next category is angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors. The role of ACE enzyme is to convert angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2. Okay, angiotensin 2 is responsible for production of a vasoconstrictor called aldosterone, that is N-octapeptide. That aldosterone helps in retention of sodium and water in the body. So which results in increase in body fluids, so which results in hypertension. So we can inhibit this ACE enzyme, thereby further conversion of angiotensin 1 to 2 and angiotensin 2 to aldosterone. So by inhibiting aldosterone concentration, we can reduce the elevated blood pressure. Okay, this is another mode of action. Next, angiotensin 2 antagonist. Angiotensin 2, how it exhibits their pharmacological action is by binding with angiotensin 2 receptors. Okay, whenever angiotensin 2 binds with angiotensin 2 receptors, production of aldosterone occurs. Aldosterone is a vasoconstrictor. So we can inhibit that vasoconstriction by inhibiting angiotensin 2 binding with the angiotensin 2 receptor. Understand? So we can inhibit aldosterone production. And the last category, diuretics. Diuretics means an agent which can increase urine output from the body. So here the examples, thiazides and high ceiling diuretics. They reduce the blood pressure with essential hypertension. Coming to the adverse effects of various categories. Till now we had seen various classes of antihypertensive agents. Each and every category is having their unique specific adverse effects. Coming to the first one, angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors. The first one seen is here, persistent dry cough. Dry cough can be seen by using this ACE inhibitors. Why the dry cough is exhibited means here bradykinins were stimulated during usage of those drugs. With the help of the bradykinins, the dry cough is resulted. Next, hypotension. Sometimes during reduction of blood pressure, it is reduced to less than the normal level. So which results in hypotension. This hypotension is hypotension and hyperkalemia. These two are the common adverse effects we can see in majority of the antihypertensive agents. The role of antihypertensive agent is to reduce the blood pressure, elevated blood pressure to normal. During the process, sometimes it is reduced to less than normal. That condition is called hypotension. Next, hyperkalemia. Hyperkalemia means excess concentration of potassium ions. Next, skin rashes and teratogenicity. Teratogenicity means formation of defect in newborn babies. Okay, this can be seen because of using drugs by mother during their trimester of pregnancy. Okay, these are the side effects. Coming to second category, calcium channel blockers, flushing, dizziness, headache, hypotension and peripheral edema. Okay, these are the common. In angiotensin II antagonist, again hypotension is common, hyperkalemia is common, and these are common. These two are common with all the categories, and the remaining one are angioedema and headache. Next, beta adrenergic blockers, bradycardia, insomnia, sexual dysfunction. Insomnia means lack of sleep. Coming to the peripheral antiadrenergic agents like alpha blockers, dizziness, drowsiness, dry mouth. Dry mouth means it decreases the secretion of saliva. Frequent urination, lack of energy, lightheadedness, nasal congestion, nausea and weakness. Centrally acting agents, again sedation, this dry mouth, headache. This headache is also common. You can see that headache in majority of the drugs. Postural hypotension. Postural hypotension means sudden fall in BP occurs when a person changes their position. Suppose if the person is sitting, is in sitting position, now the person is want to stand. Okay, whenever he is standing, suddenly the fall in BP occurs. That is called postural hypotension. Next, fluid retention also occurs. Impotence. Coming to the next category, direct vasodilators. Okay, in this category, direct vasodilators means they directly relaxes the blood vessels. So excess blood vessel dilatation occurs. So flushing we can see in this category. Means more amount of fluid is accumulated. Hypotension. Okay, fall in BP occurs because of this vasodilation. Whenever blood vessels are excessively dilated, more amount of blood is flowing than the required one, so blood pressure is automatically reduced than the normal level. Salt and water retention. This is also again unwanted effect we can see with this direct vasodilators. Coming to the next, central acting sympatholytic agents, that is called clonidine. The best example in this category is clonidine. Alpha 2 receptors are there on the peripheral nervous system. Okay, on the presynaptic nerve endings. See, whenever activation of alpha 2 receptors occurs, see here, firing of vagal nerve increases and it also decreases the firing of sympathetic nerves. See, this is connecting with various parts of the body. In this sympathetic chain, here venodilation. Venodilation means dilatation of veins. Here vasodilation we can see in arteries. Okay, it can act on both arteries and veins. So finally it produces vasodilation by inhibiting or by stimulating or activation of alpha 2 receptors. So what happens whenever vasodilation occurs? The blood flow is high and pressure is reduced. So which results in decrease in heart rate and decrease in SP. So finally decrease in blood pressure. This is SP means stroke volume. So the best example under this category is central acting sympatholytics is methyl dopa. Okay, this is the structure. This is a derivative of dopamine. Okay, in the structure of dopamine, just by introducing methyl group, then this structure was resulted. This is called catechol. A benzene with two adjacent OH groups is called catechol. Okay, this methyl dopa is an alpha-2 adrenergic receptor agonist. Okay, alpha-2 receptor was stimulated, so thereby uptake of catecholamines from the synaptic cleft into the storage vesicle occurs, so which results in decrease in concentration, so which leads to less in blood pressure or fall in blood pressure. Coming to the use, we had seen already various types of hypertension: mild, moderate, severe, based on the range of systolic and diastolic blood pressures. So this drug is commonly used for moderate to severe hypertension. Coming to the scheme for synthesis. Okay, this is the basic structure, and from this structure only we will get the starting material. So the starting material is called 4-hydroxy-3-methoxy-acetophenone. This is the structure. Okay, now we are treating this compound with potassium cyanide and ammonium carbonate. So what happens is here dehydration. This ammonium carbonate react with these active hydrogens. Two active hydrogens are there. Those two hydrogens undergo substitution reaction with ammonium carbonate and potassium cyanide. So one hydrogen is substituted with Cn and another one is substituted with here. Another one is substituted with amine. Okay, by eliminating 1 mole of water and 1 mole of carbon dioxide. Okay, when this 4-hydroxy-3-methoxy-acetophenone reacts with potassium cyanide and ammonium carbonate, it will give this first intermediate by eliminating 1 mole of water and 1 mole of carbon dioxide. Okay, this is the first intermediate. Now we treat this compound with the concentrated sulfuric acid. The cyanide on hydrolysis will get acid. Okay, now we are treating this acid with alcohol. It means this acid is converting into ester, acid and alcohol reaction. So finally treating this compound with HCl. We are converting the drug into salt form, that is methyl dopate hydrochloride, for improving the solubility of the compound. Okay, next one is clonidine. Okay, we will see the remaining classes of the drugs in next class.